Collective. This is Dr. Samuel J. Lombardo, the Executive Director, CEO, Connunciation Coach, and Consultant for SL Models and Talent Agency LLC, Fashionista Studios LLC, Honors Gala USA LLC, Stars Travel Group LLC, and Soul Mending Alchemists LLC. You can follow me on the web. You can like, share, subscribe here on YouTube at Soul Mending Alchemist 1111. Also on TikTok at Divine Guide 1111. Also, you can follow me on the web if you'd like to book a private session, or June 1st, I will be sending out my first newsletter, so you can subscribe via your email at www.soulmendingalchemist.com. And I'm sorry if I'm not showing my face. In fact, I didn't even want to come on live tonight, but I am on live tonight because I had a very, very specific message that I was asked to give. And this is for the total collective. So this is all signs. And this is whether or not you are spiritual or not, something that you must be prepared for. This is a prophetic message, which means that this is definitely for future, and some effects could be already be taking shape. Now, for some of you, you already had seen this. You know about the Northern Lights. You know what Northern Lights do. But let me give you a few things, pieces of information that you do not know, and that even a lot of the spiritualists out there actually do not understand this, okay? First of all, the sun made its 11th year routine spin, okay? It had just ended, okay? Or it is ending in Gemini season. So that has nothing to do with the actual effect of what's going on. But what it does have effect on is what the sun really actually is. Okay? Let me just repeat myself. What the sun really actually is. Now, those of you that read scriptures understand that sin cannot be in heaven. And in Revelation, it talks about the heavenly light being fire. Revelation talks about the fire, an everlasting fire, and how the new earth and the new heavens, how they would be created. Or how they are being made, right? Or prepared. Let me use the right terms here. They are being prepared. Now, being prepared means that something is already there and that it's being prepared. It's being ready for you when you enter in, okay? It's that kind of situation. Now, in the ethers, there has been a huge judgment going on between God the Father and Jesus being in the holy place right now. And God the Father, I'm sorry, I get these coughing spells periodically. God the Father is in the most holy place, and Jesus knows, so he can only enter in during 2 times of his life. The first time has already happened, as we know, and that was when he made himself a sacrifice for us going into heaven. Okay? And that was when God said it was okay, and then he was able to ascend, if you will. He began the ascension process. Okay, now he was still on the earth for 40 days as his spirit then ascends up after his death. But if you notice, okay, there is always, and this always will be the case, okay, the spirit is the same in one as the body, okay, like God the Father, the Holy Spirit, okay, and then Jesus being the Son. Well, his spirit has ascended into heaven, but no one can actually add to that spirit. So, in other words, there will not be another Jesus being born on the earth that would be like Jesus. He is the master ascended Jesus. He has already reached the top, and he has defiled death. He had defiled gravity. He's done a lot of different things that any human being was not able to do, to include Enoch as well, and one other person who was brought into heaven in the very same way. There are, in other words, these are old souls that have no lives after them. They have been ascended, they have been masters, and there is no karma left for them to deal with. Okay? Just putting it in short so that we understand what is happening here. There are some of us that think that we are like Jesus. Like we can be like him. And really, we are to live our life the way that Jesus asks us to live it, and not be too conformed to the earth as if we need to be like him. Okay, now once you go through your life cycle, then you will be able to see whether or not you have ascended into the mastery level or not. Okay, and unfortunately, these are some things of which you don't know until death. But what I can give you a warning on are several things, okay? Sin don't reside in heaven. So, in other words, you could literally burn up. Any person that sees the sun sees fire, sees a big burning ball of flames. You'll get scientists talking about how the sun is flaring up and all of this. But you know what? Nobody could ever tell you what's inside the sun. And I wondered about this for a minute. I was like, okay, so if there's the Milky Way over here, and there's this over here, and the sun is over there, where does heaven reside? And everybody's trying to dictate, well, you know, the Garden of Eden must have been over here, and all of that. And to be honest, before sin could be separated, The light was already here. Okay? The sun was not even the issue until after death had appeared on the earth. And what happened was, when Adam and Eve saw that they had sinned and they started clothing themselves because of their shame, you can literally tell that the actual light of God's presence was no longer there, because they were already naked. They were already naked. It wasn't anything about whether or not they were naked or not then. It was good and evil, right? And they chose evil over good. So then they began to see the shame that they had put themselves into, and now they can see the sun, the ball, that fire that we are seeing. Okay, I'm going to link this together so you understand what I'm getting at. That ball was formed to be able to give daylight to us. But God resides in that daylight, because that is the power of God. This is where heaven resides. See, you may be able to get so far, but you cannot get anywhere close, not even to a flare, when the sun is actually flaring up. Okay? It's almost like you have to allow it to do its own thing. It's the only star in the sky, okay, which is bright enough to provide the light that the earth needs to be able to function. But what gives the power to the sun is God himself, and only God himself, that has the power to be able to do such a thing, can reside in a thing that is hotter than we could even imagine. And the reason that we can't imagine how filled the light is and why we would get blinded even during a moment of an eclipse, where we would actually get blinded by that light, it is because the sun is not made for us to say, yes, I see the light. The sun is there to provide us the light, to already have given us the light. Okay, I'm explaining this in real time, in real terms here. Not to sound sassy or anything weird, but to literally let you know. Now, the warning is that Jesus is going to come, and he's going to come in the same way that the sun comes up, which is the east to the west. So, hold up a minute. If we're actually in space, right, no matter what cycle that the sun is going into, it sits in the same spot. Because when you get an 11-year cycle with the sun, what people don't realize, it's the earth that actually orbits it. It's always been in the same spot. Now, you'll get scientists that will disagree with it, because if you got an atheist or something out there, or some psychologist, or however you pronounce that, okay, these religions today, they will literally try to do anything to even prove that the sun is nothing but a ball of fire. And the truth is, folks, is that, yes, it is true. The sun is only a ball of fire to the sinful eye. Because Revelation had told us that that's what it was going to be. We can't stand the light. We see it as fire. So then, am I supposed to look at the sun in a different way? Why does the sun provide all the heat? Well, let me ask you a question. Let me repeat what you just asked. Do you think it's the sun that is giving you all of the heat? Think about this for a minute. Now, of course, you might think I'm a theorist at this point, but I'm coming on to something here. Humidity makes things a lot more stickier and all that. It creates more of the rain, right? The sun's still going to shine. The sun is still there, regardless if you're storming or you're not. The sun is still in the same location where it would have left off. Even when you're going west to east, understand this. The earth is round, right? Y'all hearing me right now? The earth is round. It don't matter if you're in the North Pole, the South Pole. It's still going to come up in the east and will go west. Why is that? Because of the way that it orbits, okay? So it does do its thing. But the sun is in position because that's literally where God resides. That is a spot where we can't come to without burning up. Try to stick a spaceship on there and see what it will do. It would melt. They've been trying all different kind of tricks, trying to get to the center, trying to see, but literally people would die trying. And if you notice, there are several gates and things that would literally block you. Now, of course, how we know it in science terms is, well, you got the core and this, and you got that. I don't know everything. I'm not the scientist here. I'm giving you the vision of what I'm saying, because the vision, I highly doubt is satanic. I mean, this is literally God telling me to explain what is taking place here. What is this flare up that we are seeing? It is God saying that He is in control and that He could literally take His power and He would throw it on the earth. If it happened anywhere else, because the earth is actually more powerful than what it looks like. Throw that crap around toward the moon, and the moon would probably split in tiny pieces. Okay? Because it cannot sustain the power of what this is. Where the earth can. But what we can't sustain is being in heaven, so we are blocked because of these flares. These are specific positions in heaven that specifically show. And if you ever notice too, even some of the pictures that people would draw up, but really what's fascinating is in order to be able to block someone from a rounded position. Okay, so let's say take the sun for an example. It's round, right? And then they got like flares or whatever that you would see. That's those pointy things that you would think, when you're drawing a picture of the sun, it's really just a big ball of fire. It's what we see it as. But that's literally the entrance. And what is blocking that area, there's a area, like the quote, no-fly zone area, is the square off of the pillars of which the heaven gates are at. So it's kind of like the Bermuda Triangle, right? Where just in case if you make it in the triangle, well, you're going to end up fearing for your life, because we're going to take you under and then we're going to ship you east or west. But you're not going to be inside of this, it's that kind of energy. And that's the energy of what you actually see. We can't actually see the pillars up there because they wouldn't actually be known to the naked eye without actually being a faithful person. And even if we were a faithful person and being able to be holy to God, we are not able to see anything about heaven unless we are able to get out of the darkness of the earth. Because if you come up out of the earth and then you go into the heavens, into the space, see, the space is between all of the universe and the sun. But the sun is what got the power among all the universe. It's something big about that sun and about the earth. But you can see how beautiful the earth is. But when you're in the earth, you can see how dark it is. Isn't that crazy? Because of the simple fact being that when you're out of the earth, sin is no more, right? So you see a different side of what the earth is than you actually see when you're in the earth. That's crazy. But yet so true. Now, collective, here's the warning. Some of these solar flares that are actually coming up from our heavenly seat to the God throne there where the sun is going to tamper with a lot of things such as fires, electric, phone services, etc. So and these are literally stage 5 and 6 leveled auroras that are taking place, solar storms. So do not expect to have everything be 100% accurate during this week, especially if you are in a predicament where you are needing electronics. Okay, and it could start as soon as tomorrow. Now, do understand too, this is the first time that a stage 5 very, very severe solar storm like that has reached a whole entire country or continent. Okay? 2 days straight to be exact. So this is a 2-day event of this solar storm for a wide array places. So northeast, you could be dealing with some major electrical issues, while the southeast could be dealing with a lot of electronical issues. They both kind of mean the same thing, but if you can't plug in something to let it charge, obviously you can't use the electronics either. But if you can still plug in the electronics, you can't use it when you got a electronic issue. So I feel like they all kind of work hand in hand in the very same situation as what I'm trying to speak about. The only area of which this really did not cause any harm was actually in the Gulf Coast. Everywhere else have actually been through this. The reason that this message and why I was talking about all of this in the beginning, about like what the sun is and all of this and why sin don't reside, is because we are all, the reason that these flares have been happening is ever since Mars, ever since the man on the moon, and all this, everybody was trying to figure out, well, how can we get something to go out there to the sun? And you know, things don't get too easy when you're trying to deal with that. And the reason is because that's where the heavens actually reside. And I just think that it would be nice if people would just allow the sun to do what it needs to do, instead of sitting there worrying about and throwing some magnetics toward the sun that cause issues that would otherwise erupt. Because what happens is these solar things that you are seeing are the protectives of the gates. Okay? And so you're not going to get too far. If anything, you're probably going to get to the corona like you did before. Okay? You're not going to get all the way down. And as somebody said, oh, well, it had to be just a bunch of rocks, so we couldn't tell. But then the rocket ship had actually melted before it could even get through the thing. A good example of how they would have looked like if they were going through the sun would have been probably Apollo 13 or something. The one where it actually shows where they were trying to go through it. And then they were like, oh, well, we got stopped by a wall. Folks, that ain't going to happen. In real life, you're going to be stopped by the first wall. It's called the pearly gates. That's what it's called. And all this other stuff that we're seeing where it's flaring and pulling over and splashing all over and all that, that's actually just, that is the protectives. Of the sun, so that, you know, it will then, because let me put it to you this way too. It don't matter what side of the sun these flares go flaring. It's going to be in the very same distinctive pattern. And like I say, east to west is like north to south. When you go too far north, you'll end up south. Because the world is round, and so is the sun. The only difference is of knowing which is what is when you're dealing with, like, say, the equator versus longitude, right? Then you're actually able to figure out, well, why is it that the sun doesn't move in this direction? Well, first of all, the sun doesn't move. Everybody actually gets that confused. There is a 11-year cycle. I'm going to explain this because this is the one part that spiritually we understand, but scientists and even their, beginner spiritualists don't know. That it takes 11 years for the sun to truly orbit through its spot. So yes, there is a orbit, but the orbit is really the Earth. So now 365 days is what it takes for the Earth to go round. Okay? Now, just making sure that we getting this. The moon, every single month, no matter how many days are in the month, will always have its phases. Okay? You could even put 10 days in a month. And why is that? Because we're the ones calculating the days. The moon don't care. It's still going to go through its phases. Okay, so let's just be real there. All right, so the moon has its phases. The sun has its phases. These are called quarter phases, which is what we typically call the seasons. One is the sun further away from the earth versus closer to the earth, right? Well, why would the sun be closer to the earth? The sun goes and moves into it? Or does the earth move closer? Okay? I'm just making sure that we're all on the same page here, okay? I'm not trying to teach science here, but some of this is common sense. So you got to remember this stuff because people will try to fool you, about what's going on here. So the further away from the sun, the more darker it is, but the more other hemispheres actually get warmer. Why is that? Because as your side of the earth is actually moving farther away from the sun, the other side is still warming up and is closer to the sun. But at all angles, right there at the equator, usually right there, in the Caribbeans, all the way to where the equator actually goes. Okay, I'm not a science teacher, but I'm just trying to give you a reality check here. Okay, where the equator is where the sun shines no matter what, it will be warm. Why is there 6 months of darkness in the winter month? So 6 months of light in the upper hemisphere is because the more that you pull away from the sun, the lesser there is of the light going up there or down there in those northern hemisphere. So if you notice, I've never said that the sun goes up there. I said that the earth moves away from. So then what is these 11-year cycles all about then? Because as it takes 365 days and there are 4 seasons, okay, we also have the orbit of the earth. that takes a while to get around the sun, even though the sun is still there. And why is that? Why else do you think, even in astrology, why we have retrogrades, we have squares and trines and all of this stuff? You want to know why, and why the Earth isn't actually even included in any of that? It's because the Earth is bringing it on. The Earth is what actually is orbiting. But some of us don't realize it, and apparently the scientists must have forgotten about it. But the Earth is what turns, but it also, in the universe, it will rotate, and there are certain points where other planets slow down while others pick up, and that's where you get your retrograded portion. But for the Earth to be able to rotate through the entire solar system, it takes 11 years through the cycle. But no matter what, the sun will always still be where it is. Isn't that crazy? Like, for some of us, we don't even understand what this even means. So it's no different than me actually telling you that heaven resides inside the sun. You would think that I'm crazy. But the reason that you think I'm crazy is because you're thinking, well, if I went to the heavens, some of you call it the heavens, I call it space, okay? I go to space, and I went to the moon, I went to Mars, I seen life here, I seen life over there, but for some reason I can't make it through the sun. Wonder why? The reason is because God says that no sin will make it. There ain't no way at all that you're going to make a man-made object and get it through the heavens. You're not. You might come close. You might have like an arrowhead or some kind of a big satellite or something that could orbit the sun, perhaps. But do you not realize that thing is not just any star, folks? That thing is a big ball of fire. In our eyes, here on this earth, that thing is a big ball of fire. But when you try to orbit the sun, it literally takes a long time. It doesn't matter if the sun, if you're going underneath the sun, or if you're going west to east, or east to west, I should say. And you want to know why the sun comes up on the east and then goes down on the west, so to speak, in due time? It's because when we orbit, that's what we're literally doing. We are literally orbiting east to west. So the sun will always remain in its same position. Now you can call this a theory, or you can call it, wow, Samuel, you're giving me something that I didn't even realize, so that, it's something worth looking into. Or you can be a nerdball and say, well, no, I think you're crazy. There's no way that heaven could be in the sun. No, because the sun is heaven. We just see it as fire. We see it as light. Now, as Christians know that the sun is the light. Let there be light, right? It don't matter if it's storming or not. The sun is still going to shine through it. It may not look as light as it would if the sun was out with no clouds, but the clouds is a whole nother thing because that's more atmospheric, okay, than it is what's in the hemisphere and above, okay? All the other spheres, you can't even get a cloud to form into it because then it's starting to interact with space. The highest cloud that you can possibly get would probably be roughly, within the atmosphere, probably about 55, 75, maybe 100,000 feet into the air. You're not going to get anything any much more because the anvil cloud, by the way, is the very last cloud that formed. And so for the freezing pellets to even develop, it's not just the air that goes freezing up there, okay? It's the fact that it has reached the point of the atmosphere that would sink the cold air into. Because that other sphere that cloud have formed into is causing the hail to form and to force itself downward. I'm just giving you the anatomy of how all this stuff happens behind the scenes without an actual scientist saying, oh, well, the anvil cloud is this and this and that. No, the anvil cloud, believe it or not, is actually the wall between the two spheres so that it doesn't go any more higher. Because if it does, then you would have had even worse storms than ever before. And I mean worse. Because it's totally, utterly freezing above that sphere. There is nothing but the freezing point up there. It's literally like you can't even fly a plane past a certain degree, okay? You cannot be in the hemisphere with that. Atmosphere, perhaps, not the hemisphere. You cannot be, there's like 3 layers of spheres, okay? And only one of them is actually at a rate to be able to fly through. Unless you're actually able to go through it, which in this case, all right, a rocket ship was able to make its way through, but of course it only needed 2 or 3 people to go up into space to go to the moon, but they needed a rocket to be able, it had to be a long, pointed, and very heavy object to be able to move through with a force of power that would be more than any car could ever go a mile per hour. Okay? So it had to be structured at a very specific point in order for it to get through there. Otherwise, even an average plane could not go that far up without it clipping its wing. It would literally, it would be a disaster. So let's get back to the sun. Heaven does not move. We move. Heaven will not move for nothing. That sun has been there since God said, let there be light. And to be honest, all the moon really is because it comes up the same way that the sun does. and it sits in its positions. It goes through its phases. But the moon would be more like, it would be more like a Pluto, just with illumined light that comes from the sun. So the shadows of the sun, okay, brings enough light that it eliminates the actual moon. And it's basically another ball, but it is just filled with dark and void. There's craters in it. You know, you've been to the moon. Those of you that are scientists probably know what I'm getting at when it comes to that. The moon does go through its phases every single month, no matter how many days you have. And to be quite honest, it amazes me to see that at night when the sun is going down, right? Our sun is going down not because of where the sun is on the earth. It's because where we are on the earth that moves in its orbit. What's interesting is that each of the spheres, this is something that different people have been having arguments about. Because listening to the theory of what I'm talking about, they're like, well, how then could it possibly be? Here's what it is. Our different spheres are like Jupiter and Saturn's spheres. They basically, they go around. So even though that the Earth takes 365 days to literally go around, the world is still spinning. The Earth is in its spheres. Or spheres, excuse me, not spheres. And so you also have longitude. You have the equator, the longitude. If it's kiltered a little bit, it will try to tilt. So, I mean, yes, the Earth could tilt. There's nothing to say that it wouldn't. But it's not going to stop the other spheres from doing what it's supposed to be doing. So the Earth itself is making an 11-year journey in the cycle, but certain spheres have certain degrees of things that are taking place. Like, for example, there's a sphere for day and night. Okay, there's another sphere for being able to keep the moon in the same position while actually being able to eliminate the light, right? But also to make sure that the Earth was being watered appropriately and not actually being overfilled, if that makes sense, or overran by water. So the part that I'm trying to get to now is this fear that while the earth itself as a whole is making its cycles, you have why it is that the moon would be in the same position as what the sun would be, and that you would actually see it in different phases, is because there's certain periods of those spheres where it literally takes 30 days for that to actually cycle through. So every 30 days, this sphere would actually make its full round, and when it makes a full round, that's when you end up with your full moon. Well, anyway, to sum all this up, what is the actual warning besides the little warning that I have given you about the electrical issues and all that? I'm being told that we need to actually stop messing around, that God is in control. We need to stop trying to lie about what God has created and arguing with other people as to why those creations are not what other people think that they are. Or trying to prove that God doesn't exist by saying that something else exists, and this is why we made a mistake, and so this, and this has taken place. However, it's going to resonate in how you believe what is going on out there. I just want you guys to understand that we have literally been fooled about God's creation. Since the time of Adam and Eve, but lately, God's creation is being pampered with because a lot of people don't actually believe that God exists, even though that God is the one that's providing the light. He is literally the kingdom of heaven, believe it or not, is what is shining on to us, and we are so blinded by the fire that we don't actually see it. And we're sitting here wondering, where is heaven? Why doesn't heaven exist? Why is it like this? Why is it like that? And then there's all these theory stories and everything else. And the truth is, it's been in front of our eyes all along. Isn't that crazy? Now, go say this to a Christian, and you might get someone that will be like, I'm a conservative Christian. Okay, I'm going to say it that way because that's how I hear a lot of them down here since I've been in the South. Let me tell you, I'm a conservative Christian, but let me tell you, they're not so conservative when it comes to the truth. They only want to harbor the truth that they know. And I'm sorry to say, but this could be a whole streamline of Christian or a cult, depending on the situation, because for some of these folks that call themselves Christian, it's really act more like they're part of an occult than they actually do living the way that God is asking them to live. I don't care if you're progressive, conservative, liberal, whatever the case is. If you cannot believe in God, if you gotta have things to make you comfortable, which 9 times out of 10 maybe it isn't. Look, I will tell you, I am not comfortable with some of the things that God asked me to sit here and talk about. But I got to say them whether you like it or not. Now, for those of you that may be mature enough to understand and maybe have a little patience to look into things, okay, I can see you kind of resonating a bit. But for others of you that are immature or whatnot, you would probably think that I'm the laughing stock of your community. Like, no, there ain't no way. The sun is a ball of fire. It can't be heaven. You know, it's that kind of energy. And I will tell you, 90% of you would probably believe that. Why? Because you would believe a scientist over the fact that God literally said in Revelation that no man shall see heaven. That no sin can proceed into heaven. And so with those two things in mind, the third thing that Revelation predicts, that I'm going to predict, is that man sees God's wrath as like a ball of, oh my goodness, did I not say it? Fire. Wow. If that doesn't spook you enough, I don't know what would. That is a very, very scary situation. Especially for us that may not follow the path of the Lord. First of all, we need to understand that the investigative judgment is already happening. That's another thing that God wanted me to explain to you guys. It's already happening. There is no, I'm going to let you disappear tomorrow. You got 7 years for the rest of you to make it up. And then we'll go pick the rest of you up. And those of you that didn't, well, we're going to bring you back down to earth. No. You better find your way back down to earth now while you got a chance, or you're going to be stuck on it. Folks, here's the truth about the prophecy, okay? Will there be a rapture? Do I believe in a rapture? I believe in a rapture. I believe in the post-rapture. I believe that once God's investigative judgment on the dead and the living, that we will be caught up together in the clouds of glory. But there ain't nobody disappearing before then. You're not going to see them just disappearing in the middle of the night or in the middle of the day, like whatever. It's not going to be happening. And when God passes your name and you are in this judgment of falsifying God's presence within your life, or playing too busy to be right with God, or you're sitting there playing as if you know God's presence, but yet living in that evil consensus, you will not be sealed up, like Revelation says, for the kingdom of heaven. But you will have the mark of the beast. No, it's not going to be on your forehead. No, it's not going to be on the palm of your hand or on the back of your wrist or whatever. No, it's not going to be a chip either. Even though that there are many people wishing that they could just confuse you with putting a chip on your wrist or back of your hand or whatever and try to claim that that is a mark of the beast. No, let me tell you something. Let me give you another little hint that may be able to help you survive these troubling times that are ahead. The devil is not going to be any more about his prophecies as much as God is. Okay? God is making you all aware that he exists and that his prophecies do exist as well. And so is the devil. The thing is that these things happen subtly. It's called mind games and manipulation. Because he is a malignant, narcissistic dragon queen angel that fell out of heaven. He wants you all to honor him on this earth. And God is saying that despite what you want to choose, you can choose this malignant narc of a fallen angel, or you can believe in the way and the light of Jesus, for which someone who has ascended into heaven very powerfully, because sin no longer resided in him. Now, is it possible? Is it possible that somebody else could live on this earth and the sin comes out of their mind? They don't think it, they don't speak it, they don't do it. Right? Is it possible? Maybe. I'm not going to say yes or no on that level. Because if so, then God will accept that person. Because, well, that person will be clean. That's what happened with Enoch, right? Elijah, okay? These are ones who have actually made it into heaven, that the Bible actually records that they went into heaven by a whirlwind or a whirlwind of fire. If you notice, that's what it said, whirlwind of fire. So something happened with the sun on that day, something unusual. So if you get some unusual, rare stuff happening with the sun, consider it that God's got something going on up there in the heavens. Don't try to make believe or make a story up either. Just know that God had something beautiful happen. And if it is true that there was something where somebody have gotten rid of sin and they went, something would be proven of it. Not fake. Not like somebody trying to make a video of it and have somebody hiding in the caves while the government sitting there supporting them. And all of a sudden now they look like a different person, but it's the same person. No, we're not talking about that kind of fake mess. So we're actually talking about how sin does not reside in heaven. And if you are sinless, you could be up there. But because we are full of sin, we have to understand that the only other thing we can consider is Jesus. Okay? And also, the only other thing that we can consider is forgiveness and knowing how to live in love. The hardest thing that you can do, okay, especially for husbands and wives that are out there, I want to make this very clear. The hardest kind of love that you can have for a person is agape love. But can it happen? Yes. It has been shown 3 times at least scripturally. It doesn't mean that you're going to sit there and allow somebody to do bad. It'd be like a boss saying, hey, I like how you do things. You do it like this, you do it like that. I think it's pretty cool. You know, I'm going to go ahead and let you slide because I think you're cool. That's not agape love. Agape love is that no matter what pain you went through and what that person is giving to you, you will not complain. Believe me, it's hard. I know this. You will not complain, and you will sacrifice everything you could, despite if they hated what you did, if they loved it, and they didn't want to give you a promotion, whatever the case may be. We're just using this as an example. Let's say your boss was like, oh no, you still need to learn this, and you still need to learn that. You're not ready, you can't have a promotion. And you're just sitting there like, you know, which sometimes, you know, it happens. So you get into your emotions. Well, agape love says that no matter what they want to say about what it is, you're going to do what you're supposed to be doing. Because what happens is God is in control. So let God handle the karma where it needs to be set. Because God is the one that does divvy out the karma. Now, he may not divvy it out himself precisely. He will give the messages to the angels who will come to someone like me and will actually tell you precisely what the karma will be. Which is why you hear me giving reads sometimes or messages like what I'm doing now. Prophetic ones, whatever the case is. So like right now, God is saying, hey, Samuel, just give them the message. Give them the message and let them understand that I am here and I'm tired of it. And I'm going to make sure that they understand how tired I am. Because look, understand this, God is full of love and mercy, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that you could just continue to get away with the same crap that you've been getting away with and then think, oh, now all of a sudden God's a tyrant. Or no, all of a sudden now you want to blame me for predicting that God is a tyrant when really he's not. Although that's what you want people to believe. Because you wouldn't be able to blame God, otherwise you'd have to be able to prove it. Well, you can't prove God, so then you got to prove me, right? Oh, look at him. Listen to him talk. Like he's sounding like, oh, he's talking about like God is a tyrant. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about God giving me the message to say that he is tired of what is going on here, and that sometimes, you know, mercy and love is not going to be given in the same way that you think it would be given. You cannot always sit there and think you're going to get bananas and ice cream. You may end up getting a bowl full of chili or God knows whatever else, okay? Peppers. Hot peppers. Burn your mouth up. But the thing is that you have to understand that you have to accept what it is that God is providing in your life right now. If you can't accept that now, then when it comes to you on your last days, you cannot cry to God then and say, well, why didn't I get a chance into heaven? When God has given you every single day a chance to be into heaven, to see heaven, to enjoy it with the sunshine even, okay? I mean, this is ridiculous what some of us are actually doing, and I'm just letting you know, not only from a human standpoint, but God saying that He is going to provide these messages and that you need to adhere to them. This has nothing to do with somebody wishing ill will on someone, because I don't even believe in that either. I never did, to be honest. Now, I will tell you what happens when you do wish ill will on someone. You're only wishing for your own karma to really happen. And it will happen. In fact, 9 times out of 10, when you wish ill will on somebody, that is the fastest way to receive karma than any other way that you could. So be careful of that. Even if you are a human that doesn't like certain humans, the least that you can do is maybe show a little mercy, but literally wishing ill will, it's probably not exactly the best way that you want to go about it. Think about it. Oh, you know, I hear it sometimes. I'm like, oh, you wish you were dead. And I kid you not when I say, when somebody, I heard it, it was like a neighbor or something like that, where they were like, I could hear their big mouth talking about, oh, I wish you were dead. And, you know, Lord, please forgive me for even saying this example, but then, I'm not kidding, I'd say maybe a year or two afterwards, someone had passed away. I mean, is that something that you want? Oh, I wish you dead? Like, first of all, who would have hurt you bad enough, or what could hurt you bad enough to want you to hate on someone that bad? I'm not saying that you have to sit there and enjoy your life with them and all of this. No, you can still forgive and move the heck on. But if the person comes back, it's not like, oh my goodness, you know, well, I got to go put a PPO on them because, well, it sounds like they're stalking me. No, it's not even that. Because at that point, if God is asking that person to go back to you, then there is some kind of unfinished business within the contract, within the ethers. But if there is no contract in the ethers, or it's not being resonated between the two of you or reciprocated, then there's no real reason for you to have to sit around and actually worry about if the person is going to come back to you or whatever the case may be. Because understand, a lot of this really does have a lot to do with God testing you and all of that. But a lot of people find it easier to just go ahead and blame the other person. Now, from time to time, you will end up getting, narcissists, and they do deem necessary watching. But if you got a person and they just happen to be there and they're not bothering you, and all of a sudden you're thinking, well, maybe I should go see what they're doing. That's not somebody stalking somebody. That's someone that is genuinely, actually seeing you in a different light than what they have seen you in. And so just because you hadn't healed yet doesn't mean that you got to blame them for seeing how you're doing and calling that stalking. Now, of course, there are times where you can call it stalking. Like, for example, let's say that you're not working in the same space or within the same organization. It's one thing if you're visiting, say there is 4 McDonald's in your area and they're all owned by the same person. And you go to the McDonald's that is on like Lee Highway or whatever, just because you happen to see someone that used to work at the, Brannard McDonald, does not mean that you're stalking the person just because you happen to pop over on Lee Highway. You saw that person and you're like, hello, I hope everything was well. That's not stalking. But it all of a sudden, okay, let's just say, for example, this person decides to go way out of the way, and let's say I'm going to work at McDonald's down in Ottawa, okay? You're driving all the way to Ottawa, and then you happen to see the person. That could be considered stalking. Or it may not even be Ottawa at all. Let's say the person decided to go work at Taco Bell. All of a sudden you go into Taco Bell. Now, maybe the first 2 times you may be like, well, okay. Well, after the first time you might be like, okay. But then the second time it's like, ooh, okay, what's going on? By the 3rd time, it's like, okay, this person got to be stalking me, because they're just showing up when I'm at work. You know what I'm getting at, okay? So understand what constitutes stalking as well, because for some of you, you're creating yourself a problem, and you're putting yourself into a worse problem by developing the problem that you think and what it is. Okay? And it may not even be you. For some of you, it isn't you. For some of you, you could be it could be your parents, all right, who are pretending to be you. And then they're turning around and having you send a letter. You probably don't even know what the letter is. So let's say the letter is something about what I'm talking about, and you send it into your box. All of a sudden now there's a talk about certain days you cannot do this, or that. So you had no idea. So now all of a sudden it's like, you know, because there is an energy out there that I will tell you about. There are some of you may have had good friends with people and they have not been successful because third parties were being involved. Okay, I'm just going to put it that way. The other thing that I'm also seeing is that for some of you, you didn't even know that the person was actually blocking you. There's somebody that doesn't like particular people who are literally, the energy that I'm getting is that they'll say something like, hey, give me your phone. They're looking up your name on someone else's phone and blocking it just so that there will be people that will not actually, because they consider you being a bad influence. So they'll go onto your phone and they will literally block that person or anything to do with that person, just so that you will not see or get any of the messages, while at the same time talking some good crap behind the person's back that they're doing the blocking to, and then trying to claim that it was you that was doing it, meaning their friend. Okay? To make it look like you are actually betraying them, when the reality is it's your own family that had a dislike or jealousy over a particular person, that they have betrayed the person. For some of you, you may have a father figure who regrets even destroying a friendship for some of you. Well, because it wasn't really anything at all, from what I'm hearing or what I'm getting, it wasn't anything at all that was important or malicious that has went on. And after doing further research, found out that you knew how to carry on your own self. That you knew when to answer back if somebody is talking too much. Well, you know, I just won't talk now. No, I'll wait until later. You know, it's that kind of energy. If I don't answer, then you're not bugging me, right? It's that kind of energy that I'm getting. But you give somebody, because here's the issue. Somebody is jealous that they are actually going to be reaching a level above where they are. This is another thing that I'm hearing. And by you actually being someone successful yourself, they know that and this is their own doing now, they decided to go with someone else, train them to be this business-minded person, and then all of a sudden pay no mind to you. And now that all of a sudden you know someone who is business-minded, who happens to be a lot more, who could be smarter than the person whom they are actually training, now they're jealous because they're afraid if you go with them that they're going to lose you. Now that's a pathetic piece of bull crap if you ask me. But that's literally the energy that I am feeling. So until you are able to actually, whoever I'm talking to, this could be page energy here now, which means that I'm probably talking to a kid, or I could be talking to a young adult. All right? Take it how it resonates and leave the rest. But you're not mature enough, which is why they're actually doing what they're doing. Or they're thinking they want this other person to believe that you are not mature enough. For some of you, you could be more mature for your age than what it seems to be. Okay? And if that's the case, they could even be jealous over that. That you got a friend that actually believes in you, trusts in you, and everything else, right? But why can't they have that? No, everything got to be turning to gold when they touch it, right? It's that kind of energy. But then they find out that they're struggling. That is not your concern. You can still show agape love, though. You can still say, hey, I love you nevertheless, but some of you may have to sacrifice your whole entire being to even a friend, just because other people are stopping you from whatever the will is, whether it's the will of God or God is sending you towards a person and you just feel a lot of regret, or whatever the case may be, because for some of you, you may literally have to, this is the message that they are trying to block you from hearing, because they know that this person has influence over you. It's the other thing that I am hearing. But here's a question that I have. If this person has influence over you, and you're sitting there inside of a church and you are worshiping every Sunday or Saturday, whichever one it is, so it doesn't make any bit of difference of your belief system, but you are worshiping every weekend. To the Lord God Almighty, Ascended Master, and Jesus. Then why is it that these people can literally see you being influenced so someone else, when in actuality, and I hate to say this, but for some of you, your own family friend was the one that introduced you to the place of which you were going to find them. So I don't even know who had the influence. But I think that whoever it was, some of them are regretting for the wrong purpose, while others are regretting because now it's forcing them to have to make other decisions that they don't typically really normally want to do. Well, now it's getting to the point, and to whom it is that needs to hear this message. If you want to go to work full time and you got a family that don't care if you do, and they're playing fake busy or, oh, I'm holier than thou, but really have no respect on your well-being to do what you have to do, then what is it they're concerned that somebody is actually helping you to succeed? It further proves then that these people do not want to see you succeed. Because it could be something as simple as making themselves available to work schedules so that you would all be able to work together and get off at the same times. It could be many different things, whatever it may be. But if God is asking you to do something, now that doesn't mean that you have to work at the same jobs. God didn't say that either. In fact, maybe you won't work the same jobs, okay? But nevertheless, or if you are working the same jobs, you kind of know what you need to be doing so that other people don't get into your business. Because your business is simply that you need help getting to and fro, and other people won't do it. So why are they worried about someone else doing something good for you? All right? They have no damn reason at all. And if your own family can't even handle this situation, then of course it's probably good for you then to think of other creative ways around it. Now, this is the energy that I don't like. I don't like this at all. Where, and believe me, I used to be this way, even with my own brothers. Oh, well, why can't you get a ride? Well, and then I'm sitting there naming all the reasons why they can't get a ride, right? While at the same time, I could be the one giving them the ride, but I'm like, no, I can't give them the ride. I'm too busy. Yeah, I'm too busy telling you how I can't get you the ride when I could just shut my mouth, take you to where you need to go, and then you would have the ride. I mean, folks, seriously. It's as simple as that for crying out crapping loud. And then some of you want to sit there and start talking about, oh, well, this person just coming around here because this, and this, to make another scene. No, as a matter of fact, what some of you need to realize, and others of you actually just need to get out of the business, period. Whatever this situation is, because they're trying to bring third parties involved on purpose so that they can be able to prove their stupid little lie so they've been already connecting you to. And a lot of you all already know some of these lies. Because if this story is resonating with you, then you need to figure out how to get rid of the lies. You need to figure out how to overcome the situation. You need to figure out, whoever the young adult is I'm talking about, how to be an adult and actually speak up. If you need some help, it's okay. It's not like you don't have to, you know what I mean? Like if it's something like, oh, I ain't got a car, can you give me a ride? Speak up, ask about it, and if they say no, then that's that. Here's the thing, your real friends are the people that will stick it with you to the end, regardless of how bad a situation is. Your fake friends will literally disappear from you when you most likely will need them. So if the now is I need someone to take me here and there. And that's the worst of your situation. Because you're in a down place right now where maybe your family is busy, but you need to do this, you need to do that. Maybe it's just simply running errands and you need a car. And you don't have a car, so then you ask somebody to do it, so you're asking a friend. Well, what is it anybody else's business about what you are doing unless you are doing something that is not true, of which somebody has actually been communicating false reports, which is, again, why a lot of this energy is taking place. Folks, I've been through this, I think, 2 years ago. Similar situations, and I feel like this is a rotated incident. This is a situation, I don't know, maybe it's the same type of energy. I don't know, maybe this is an issue that is happening with specific people out there. You need to understand that there are some things you can control and other things that you cannot. And if you are trying to control certain things, then you need to be a little bit better about how you are being a parent or doing whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing with a child, okay, that is needing the help of whatever it is that they're looking for. Otherwise, why are you sitting around bitching around about somebody else doing a favor and then trying to find any excuse whatsoever as to why that person is being an influence that is bad? And they don't even have anything to cover it up. All you could do is just sit there and what? Stalk the person and watch what their videos are saying, whatever the case is, and then turn around and come up with a scene that makes no damn sense whatsoever about what it is that you were doing. That's what you were doing. Point it out. Point it out. Tell me otherwise that is not what you were doing. So now we have a rotated event. There is somebody who's beginning to realize that this is a cycle, this is a pattern. And it's not with the people whom he or she is choosing to be around. It is the people of whom are surrounding him or her. Toxic family dynamics, weird individuals who are coming up with weird stuff, maybe a toxic work environment, somebody just getting into the business too much. Sure, it could be like a family friend's friend, is what I'm hearing, who's trying to keep secret about what it is that they, quote, think that they know, while spying and trying to get information and then sharing it with this other person, while twisting the story, and then that person goes and starts telling other people. But guess what? The point of this message, folks, is you're caught. The family, that family's friend, and the family's friend's friend. Okay? You all are definitely caught, and karma is being due. Alright? This is something where justice has not been served yet. Because the message beforehand was prepare for something in case, make sure you have enough money put away to save you in case of a situation. Well, at this point now, a situation's about to be due happen. And it's karmic related. There's also going to be a truth found out about someone of which you're even going to realize how much money you have lost by doing specific projects, is what I'm hearing. And didn't even get paid the way that you were supposed to. And if that isn't the case, for some of you that might be the case. For others of you, it could actually be that you finding out that you were doing work for someone who claimed to own some kind of property of something or something, just to find out that it was somebody else, and you're wondering why they are no longer where they're supposed to be at, and now you lost the contract and everything else to go with it because some fake person was pretending and portraying to be something else while trying to make money on their thing. And I'll give you an example of what I mean, because I've seen this happen already. Somebody had paid an inexpensive rate to a Airbnb, okay, trying to pretend to be the person that owned the property, and then would always end up being there and then leaving late, causing issues, whether it's like tour time or picture time or whatever the case it may be. And they would literally just be there, or they might leave there and then the place would be a mess. Okay, it's these kind of situations. Well, they're sitting there pretending to be the owner of the property while sitting there renting the property from the person and making a profit off of the rent that they're getting after they actually have already rented it. I swear, I'm going to tell you right now, if this doesn't resonate with everybody, it's going to resonate to the collective of at least 15 to 20 people. Because you know exactly who I'm talking about, and your asses are the ones that are the collective cross-watcher thinking that I don't know what I'm talking about, and oh, well, you know, it's like this, it's like that. No, your ass knows exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I'm doing. Oh, let me shoot down the price. So it'd be $200 a night, and then you go and you're charging them. You're sitting there literally paying somebody to do $1 million photo shoot, okay? To go out there and photo shoot not even your property, okay? Hear me out when I say this, folks. And then turning around, okay, and literally selling that shit for like $500 a night. And you know how illegal that is. You know how illegal it is. You're just wanting to sit there and think, oh, I'm just talking crazy out of my hat. No, it's not the photographer's fault that some stingy, greedy ass is out there sitting there trying to pretend that they are nothing and can't even turn nothing to gold. No, they're sitting there, they're stealing your gold. That's what they're doing. Let me have this for $100 a week, and I promise you I could do. Why can't you just do a real contract, dude? Whoever you are. Yeah, I mean, I said dude, yeah, because it could be a masculine. A malignant, greedy ass, okay? That's probably sitting out there like listening to me right now cracking up, okay? Because they, believe me, I don't care if I have to know you or not. Because you know who I'm talking about. Could be some short, scouty person. It's what I'm hearing. Maybe some curled hair toward the top to the sides, okay? Sometimes wear glasses. This person fakes a name that seems to have a legacy. Folks, be careful who you are actually renting space from. If you're doing an Airbnb, that's another thing I'm going to tell you. Going down to earth now with the messages. Be careful who you are renting, because you are not renting it from the person. You want to know how I know that? I'll tell you how you know. Purposely, here's what I want you to do. Purposely cover your contract, okay, for a couple of days over the amount. I guarantee you, you're going to find the real person that owns it. Because they're going to be like, well, who are you? I thought Dr. Rogers was supposed to be in here. No, Dr. Rogers ain't in here. Well, he seems to like this place. He always rents it. Well, that sounds like a familiar name, because Dr. Rogers was the one that rented it to me for $500 a night. Huh? Let me see. Now they're looking at the property, they're looking at the pictures, they're like, well, who took the pictures? And while they're sitting there looking at the pictures, like, oh, wow, this is beautiful work, right? Whoever is doing this work, they're like, okay, well, this looks nice. Well, who the hell? Hold up. So then, what am I in this piece? They took me for $200, so then they're renting this crap out for $700 a night. Okay, well, guess what? Now they got to fish up the money. I want my $700 a night, and I want it for every single person whom you actually have rented this place from. And who is it that took pictures? Because I need to speak with them as well. I need the rights to it, not you. So now, someone else, this is what I'm hearing. Somebody could be in a court situation and not even realize it because of somebody stealing someone's property. And it is easy to do as an Airbnb unless you're actually, like I said, holding the space a little bit longer. Because then you're either going to get the person who's supposed to be taking the pictures being frustrated, like, how am I supposed to do the work when there is somebody else in the way and they're not on time? Well, a real professional STR would not typically do that. Somebody who is pretending to be somebody will do this. So maybe someone else needs to hear this message as well. Maybe it could be someone that does work for the original owner. And they thought that that was who that person was supposed to be. And it wasn't. Because typically, okay, this is how I normally do it with STR and co-hosting and whatnot. Is if I want to get pictures done first of all, if I want to get pictures done, if I want to get anything professional done, like even a contract would say Ashley should put furniture in, I'd have to be there to know what is happening. So at least a co-host or the actual professional host of the place would be there. So a normal co-host or host knows what is going on versus somebody who like, well, why do we still have people that are still here when they know that they're supposed to not be here and the place is supposed to be cleaned up or something? I don't know. I don't even know what the hell I'm channeling for. I really don't. But something is going on here where where apparently someone is pretending to be a co-host to a play, or somebody was not responsible. Something, one thing or another, okay? But something had happened. But there's a karmic situation happening because there's a whole group of situations where I think it's coming out of contract. And it's going to be losing a lot of the properties that they once had. So I also have gotten that. And yes, this is pertaining to properties, whatever this may be. All right. Now, if you really want to know about co-hosting, you're going to have to get with a trusting host. And that's kind of hard to do because most co-hosts will pretend to be the host and then would take whatever is left from, like, for example, if the rent is $200 a night and they're able to rent it for $400, then they're both getting paid $200. But then he or she could still be taking money from the other $200 because the original agreement to be at the play to do this, and this, and the other, while someone else is over there, like you're getting paid to be the co-host. But they have no idea at all, apparently, what you're charging. So be careful of how you're dealing with Airbnbs and who you trust. All right? Is what I'm getting at. Also, same way with properties. You know, it's not just Airbnb related properties. Now, the good news is that soon I will be a licensed real estate agent for the Tennessee and Georgia states. I'm actually taking online classes for that now. So I'll be able to help a lot when it comes to that. And hosting would be a whole lot more easier too. But I'll be able to, the first thing I plan to do is work with an agency that's already doing it and then go from there. But real estate is where to go, especially if you're trying to get your own self a plate. So don't get yourself your own plates by dealing with people that could rob you in the midst of it. And I'm not saying that this is a toxic family issue either. This isn't an issue with family at all. This is an issue. Now, what I will say is that somebody plays like they're smart, but in actuality only likes the money that you're making. They're not actually checking in to see what you're dealing with. Okay, and that causes a lot of concern as well. I think I'm going to end it here. And I really, really hope that you guys realize, well, first of all, the main thing is realize who your true friends are. Realize what agape love is, what brotherly love is. Okay? Realize when someone is actually trying to hurt you and when somebody actually isn't. All right? Don't blame the innocent people for hurting somebody when they're literally simply just being themselves. Yes, there is a such thing as true love to friendships. And just because you may have a way of there's people literally out there that will literally say, okay, well, this is how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be co-workers, and then after maybe about a year after you get to know them, then you could be like a buddy. And then if you didn't want to be the buddy, you could just block them, or you could become a friend. And when you become a friend after 2 years, and it's like you're getting promoted. No. Believe me, if that was the case, then I don't think anybody is going to make it to heaven, because most of us probably got demoted by now. Hear me out when I say it, folks. God is more than just a best friend. And his son Jesus had sacrificed his love for us, agape love, for us, for the church, for you, for I. He's more than just a best friend or even a brother, for that matter. Jesus is literally married to us. So this nonsense of, well, no, you need to take a year and you know, you could be a buddy, and then in the next year you can be a friend, and then the next year, you know, you get a promotion. But if you don't like it, well, now you can just drop them off the face of the earth, block them, ignore them, avoid them, blah, 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 blah. There you go. It's that kind of energy. No. You would already know if that person was toxic before you even got into the level of the friendship of whatever it may have been. Because a true friend is someone that will sacrifice you even in distance. There ain't no way that you're going to just assume that someone had given up. Even if you said, oh, I don't like the Lord. No, I stopped going to church or whatever. Yeah? Well, that doesn't stop God from judging you. It doesn't stop God from loving you either. So I hope you understand that. Anybody out there need to hear that message again? Hold on, rewind. Okay. God, if you ran away from God tonight, it does not stop him from loving you, and it does not stop him from judging you. So even if you wanted to test the waters, and you were like, do I really have a true friend? Throw them in a distance and then see where that person is after a year or two. I can almost guarantee you will know. But I will tell you, Don't be surprised. Do not be surprised. Because if you're expecting something else, just know that whatever it is that you're expecting is not going to be the same that maybe other people surrounding you are expecting. They're probably going to be like, well, that person never learned his lesson. They're probably trying to teach somebody. I don't know what the hell they're trying to teach them. I could tell you what they're teaching. They're trying to teach this person how to show brotherly and agape love in distance that is going to embarrass them solely. That's what they're really teaching. Because at the end of the day, they're going to get a little hint of how Jesus done for us. When we walk away from Jesus, Jesus does allow us to come back. And when we typically come back, we come back changed, right? Well, in Jesus' eyes, he sees us as the same person, just without the Son. Well, that's how it should be. Is that how it's going to be? Let me make a little quick prayer for you all, and then I'm going to exit out. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the Sabbath day that I've had here this past Saturday. Now that we're back at the first day of the week, we know that the seventh day is the Sabbath. And Lord, it's not an occult thing. It's not somebody trying to force somebody to do something that they're not supposed to do. It's not a separation from any other church. It's the real deal. We should be able to live faithfully together, one and another, not somebody preaching or telling us that we should hate on those who believe in the old covenants. I don't even know what that means, because I knew that when God said you come and fulfill the law, that you didn't come to abolish it. So what old covenant are they even talking about? Lord, I pray that someday in your second coming, that, or even before that we can clear a lot of the confusion. I pray that the people of the church understand and know what it truly means to restore, reconcile, forgive, move on. And live righteous lives. But also not to be afraid of befriending those of which you give in in their environment should be able to help one in time of need, even if it's something as $1 here and there, or if it's not money related, it could even be a vehicle or a ride, giving somebody a ride. Why should there be an embarrassment if some friend is giving a friend a ride? It doesn't make sense. Regardless of how unusual it actually is, because it's not about what is unusual, it's about the fact that you're doing the work of God. So if for some reason you typically say no, say you're a 50-year-old saying no to a 17-year-old, all because it would look weird, 9 times out of 10, it's probably because of a toxic family dynamic that would otherwise have stories to say than it would be with the person who's seeking the ride and knowing that that is the only situation that is happening at the time. Lord, be with us that we will know how to become more faithful, more willing, more helpful. Help us to forgive those who help us to forgive those who do not know what they have done toward us. And I thank you and I praise you in Jesus' precious and holy name. Amen. So, folks, just remember, love is not just a feeling, it is also a doing. You can do things of which will show your faithfulness. But also remember that don't allow the devil to try to confuse you in any way or manipulate you into believing that something isn't right when it typically is. Now, there are things that are not right about certain situations, but being able to show your faithfulness to people it is okay to do so. There are some things that are common-sensical, like you probably would not purposely go and take a ride 3 hours away with an underage individual, even if you were a Christian and was in the same church. Okay, or even if it was like a friendship situation, that, you know, there are certain things where if you're hanging out with other friends or whatnot, you may have to show them what it means to have toxic friends, whereas you don't have them. But you don't want to be involved with that because you don't want this other group of friends to manipulate you into doing bad things, of which you don't normally do. Okay, this is the kind of energy that I've been pulling and feeling. minus all the other stuff of what I've talked about here tonight as well. So hopefully I made some sense. So what I am trying to say, and if you have any questions or whatnot, you could definitely put them in the comment section down below. Till next time, have a blessed day. Remember to unleash the artist within and let your light shine through Jesus. Peace.